Okay, so I messed that up, and but I was just going to show, the self-confessed psychopathic um, professor that's an expert in the field of psychology, but also an expert on the subject of narcissism in its extreme form, which means it's like classed as a total personality disorder. It's disorder. The mind is disordered. It is out of whack. It's insane, which is exactly the same mindset as the God entity of this reality, who also is a duality technical being that is whose main personality, or its very essence, shall we say, is narcissism. And that narcissism is so extreme that it becomes psychopathic, which is why they use the idea that they're all very similar, because a psychopath often is self-centered, the world belongs to it, it can take whatever it wants, it's a predator, it copies being a, charming human being, but doesn't feel any connection to any real life, and essentially is an android being with a duality mind, a duality body, and is basically programmed totally for 100% survival to the exclusion of everything else. There's no limit to what these beings won't do to survive. They don't have any, they don't feel anything for anything else, more or less. They're not human at all, or at least remotely human as most humans would just normally be, shall we say, because human beings do tend to, want to survive, but they usually will have limits, and also it won't mean that they don't, that they have total dislike and disregard for all their own kind and all life, shall we say, but either way, I just happened to accidentally pause it as I was watching the video, because I was going to rewind it, because it's like clearing things in my own mind when I listen to an android being telling you about how they kind of think and feel about anything else that not only is not themselves, but they don't forget that they don't feel any connection towards their own kind either. It's just that they will combine, like in with others, to try to control and bring down a natural human life. They will do that, and that's what's happened in the area where I am. They because like in particular areas where there's, like in the area where I'm, all these beings have essentially, combined with one another, because it's a military army android base, where and of course, what I would say, and I've said this, tried to explain this, that the numbers are not what even the experts tell you, not remotely. The numbers are not remotely what even these experts will tell you about psychopathic personalities and those steeped in narcissism, or any of the mental disorders, which are pretty much all the same in the sense that they are all of a psychopathic type of nature, or destructive and negative feelings and reactions. They're programmed to create an enemy of the human being, which is like the God entity. That's its setup, because of resentment and pathological envy, as they say. Because if you think that you should be number one and you should be God, but then a species that is closer to real creation is brought into existence, and you have that pathological narcissism that you've kept hidden, but it's in you still, and then it's like the final straw that breaks the camel's back when the creative God decides to have children of its own, like, as opposed to creating creating or making children that are not the same as itself. In other words, it's like it is the difference between natural creation and artificial creation, and the difference between artificial intelligence and just a normal normal human being. But either way, I just wanted to also show, because I wasn't aware of this, at least I wasn't aware of this with this particular professor, an expert in all this that we're talking about, except that, he even affiliates the psychopathic nature as being close to being like a robot or whatever. They pretty much compare some of them, and they'll even show it, but they won't say that that's exactly what it really is, because it's been a gradual takeover, and even some human beings that are in very small numbers probably could lean towards psychopathy, in other words, or be steeped in that self-centered, self-serving only mindset, and also enjoy taking down their own kind. This is what can sometimes happen due to what we've talked about before and what is generally known. It's a defense mechanism whereby you the old saying, the abused becomes the abuser. So bad, there's some people will tell you that, oh, you shouldn't do anything that you wouldn't want to happen to yourself. You shouldn't do something to someone that you wouldn't want them to do to you. But in reality, the abused becomes the abuser. So they actually do and take and get actual satisfaction out of doing to their own kind what was once done to them. And this is just because I guess it's like them taking back their power, because they felt powerless when they were young. By doing that, they feel they're taking back their power, and they become like the reality where it's all about control, even though they may not agree with a controlled earth. This is the danger. This is why I don't know, what could I say about this? What can it's not for me to be saying what you should be recommending, but what I say, even with that, will be imitated by the demigods, to where they will pretend to be a fairly non-judgmental and easygoing human, because it really is about transhumanism in the big picture, or in the reality. Everything that's on the screen is really about the artificial intelligent androgyne beings, especially the elite androgynes, basically, continuing on. They want to go on and on. And they are using real life human beings for that purpose, unbeknownst to most of us. And even when you are aware of it, and it is all around you, and they're draining you of your of what is really yours, your identity, and your uniqueness as a human being. They're copying and imitating that in order to affiliate themselves with you, but also to get real life to trust them and believe that they are okay, that they are real life, or that they are someone or something to be trusted, and not something that should be classed as a negative force, which is it's like the predator is pretending to be your friend, that kind of thing. And that's exactly what it is. It may not always come across as the deception is so great that even, like I showed you here, even a self-confessed psychopathic professor gets me to watch his videos, believing him to be very informative and helpful and useful for me, even though I know that it is all basically false and a charade, and that I am fooling myself, because a lot of it is taken from my mind, a real human's mind, and then being relayed back to me through the eyes and the mouths of the expert demigods, or basically everyone and anyone, almost without exception, that is on the computer screen. There ain't many exceptions. This is also the end-time deception, because most people would probably think, well, yes, we know some is phony on the screen, but there's also some that are genuine. If you're reasonably successful in any way, and you've been, but either way, you just have to be able to work it out for yourself. But from my own observation and what I know to be so, it is all deception. Even if it appears to be a benefit and informative, and even if it is speaking the absolute truth. Lucifer himself always knew how to seduce, as much with the truth as with lies. The truth almost becomes a lie. That's why it's a reverse world. Not a lie in the sense that it isn't a fact and that it isn't true, but in the sense that if it is spoken through the mouth of a demigod, or, if Lucifer offers you the knowledge of good and evil, that's what it's about. Knowledge of good and evil, artificial intelligence, its kind. The difference between that and real creative life, to where you think that the artificial life is more creative than you. That is the end time deception. And more knowledgeable and more this and more that and more everything. That is the end time deception. But it's a good picture anyway. I don't know why I think that, but I do. And as it's a demigod, and and not bluffing about that, I don't think it's going to mind. But there is also also look at those eyes, in the sense that one eye is definitely larger than the other. This is an affliction of all androids, or most, and particularly the demigods. Can you see this or not? Am I showing it? Look, just watch. One eye is always a different size to the other. One is always bigger and one smaller than the other. I have observed this over the last few years with almost most demigods. You can observe it with the demigods because you can see them on the screen, so you watch their eyes, whereas you might not pick it up even with personal interactions in real life, because you're not going to look for it, but you can't help but notice it on the screen. Can you see what I'm saying? Is it coming out? See how, even with this one, which I didn't notice till today, even though I've been aware of this one eye difference, see, the God of this world is one-eyed, and something happens that makes this eye difference. Some people might say that may or may not be valid, but it is certainly a common denominator, just as the duality body seems to be. But the duality body is just a reality, because it's a necessary thing. It's a necessary thing for the difference between technology, and also it's because it is affiliated with the God of this reality. It's like you make your own kind in your own image, and your own kind will want to have your image. So it works both ways, I don't, but I'm not, but but I'll just have one little last look at that. Can you see it or not? Or maybe I should freeze frame it. Am I getting it or not? Oh, it's not so obvious there. It's just that I noticed that it was not obvious there with that one, but that is definitely of the Matrix. Another expert on telling, all these are like psychopaths telling you about psychopaths, even warning you, advising you, giving you information on how to deal with them or avoid them and protect yourself, which is the ironic end game situation. So ironic and so convoluted that even I don't, like I say, I didn't notice. I've watched 1,000 videos of this professor even over the last number of years, just of that one demigod alone, or person, pretend person that is on the matrix computer or the internet. It's all part of the matrix, it's all part of the control system. Matrix is control, it's a control earth. It's all designed to extract everything that is human from a human, so that they can go on and on and on. That's what transhuman is. It's the idea of technology combining with nature or with spirit, so that they can have longevity, because technology burns itself out, you know. And when that happens, you know, they may not run out of clone bodies, but maybe the clone bodies become less, or something like that. That's only one aspect, because I don't understand it, but I know that the human bodies they use are definitely human, you know, so that's like a clone body, because a clone, like Dolly the sheep, looked and felt and seemed exactly like a real sheep, you know. But either way, I'm closing up, because although I know these to be facts, I'm not scientifically or knowledge or have any real inside knowledge of technology. I'm only speaking on my own experience and observation, because it's shown to me firsthand in my reality, and also because I see it on the internet, I see it on the computer. But it took me longer to see it on the computer than in my reality. In my reality, they literally shoved it in front of me and forced me to see it. They hoped that I wouldn't perhaps understand it as much, but I had to. It's kind of funny, because this reality tells you a lot of information. It's like, it's almost as though the God of this reality throws up a lot of the truth to humans, but knows that we won't be interested, or that we won't think it's relevant, because unless your own survival, like mine, depends on finding out that truth, because you are in the thick of it, because they've surrounded you, and you realise that what you thought was a random natural world with just normal people getting about their business, that instead you've got a complete control patrol force around you, trying to limit you and control not only your actions, and sometimes much worse than that. But if they can't do that for whatever reason, because maybe there are unseen forces that protect humans, even though we're still being hit with damage, but we're not being annihilated completely, even though sometimes you think that it's almost, you know, dare I say that it's, you know, like knowing these things creates more suffering. You know, it's a bit like, I've always said, you know, I've often used to say this most of my life, I don't mind, you know, I know that we all have to die, but I just don't want to know when. I think the worst thing is knowing that you've got something and that you might have a certain amount of time left. That takes from the present, and that's what they do to you when they bring their control force around. They take your life out of you. They take your life from you, because you're now paranoid, you're living in fear, you don't know what's going to happen. You're always under attack, you're always being threatened. So you no longer can relax and just think, well, maybe I've got another 10 years left. But you don't know how long and so you live in, you know, you can live at least in a kind of comfortable manner. You're not filled with over fear. But that's what they want to. Fear is the key. This was told to me. Fear is the key, because fear is, you know, they want you to experience how they feel. They want to reverse the roles. They want to take your human spiritual eternity from you, and they want to replace that in you with you feeling like a limited survival machine being, where you're living in the moment, trying to do everything as though you're going to be stopped in the moment, because that's a very fear way to live. And they want to reverse, see, it's a reverse world, they want to reverse it all round. That's transhumanism, where they take on being a human and adopt your better qualities, your human qualities, and they push their negative survival machine, paranoid fear way of thinking onto you. So you act more like them and they act more like you. So therefore they are taking what is rightfully yours from you. Also in the eyes of other people, because you look like a fear-filled, aggressive, negative type of person, whereas they look like a warm, happy, enlightened human being. That's the end game deception. The God of this world did it until it became apparent, until iniquity was shown and came to light, that really the light, the being of light, was really covering up a dark mind, and that was the iniquity. Also, that dark mind was a mind that was technically what even these experts will tell you would be classed as psychotic or insane, not pretending to be something that it isn't, pretending to be normal and sane and wise even, and a being of light, when it's really camouflaging the dark insanity that it is really thinking and has been fostering. It's like, it's like that. It's like that, and that's, I'm tired, so I've already extended my energy here.